What's going on, guys? I can't even talk. What's going on, guys? It's Ed here from Geek, and we're back with like the 95th edition of the Google Ads Agency Roundtable. I'm here with Mark, Nick, and Dustin, and today we're going to talk about marketing in a recession. I don't know if you guys know this yet, but we're in a recession, and it's about to get a lot worse with what happened yesterday. The Fed raised 75 basis points. Things are about to get pretty hairy across the board. So we're just going to talk about marketing in a recession. Should you retract and spend less? Should you be more aggressive? Just kind of take our, go around the horn, get everyone's approach, and just shoot the shit for a little bit. So, Nick, since this was your topic, we're going with you first. Marketing in a recession, depression, downturn, retraction. What are your thoughts?
So right out the gate, my thoughts are, you've got it. Metrics matter. Your numbers matter. And a lot of times we've got all walks of life with our clients. We've got clients that have been doing PPC with us for 8+ years. We have some that have just started. We have some that don't have any experience with it. And we have some that are very well versed in managing PPC leads and figuring out that roadmap. So what we do see is we see some people drop off right away. So in our industry, obviously real estate, and everybody's talking about housing because there's a lot of people that are gun shy thinking that we're going to have a housing bubble. That's not real. It's not everybody's getting notes that aren't backed, and everybody's mortgages are we're pretty solid in that side, right? So what we're seeing on our end is our search is down 30% in the month of May across the board nationwide, which tells us two things. So I'm a glass half full kind of person. So we're having conversations with our clients. We're trying to explain to them, if they're searching in a market where the rates keep going up, where we're doing 6% 30-year mortgages, it's going to be like 6.25 now. And in January, it was 3.25, right? So if we're doing, if people are searching, they're serious. It's not casual searching. If they're filling out that form and they're looking at houses, then they're serious about moving. And then you sort of want to coach we coach our clients into saying, hey, listen, you can still get a low interest rate on a 5/1 ARM, and we're pretty sure that those rates are going to come back down, and they'll never be as low. I don't think they'll ever be as low as they used to be. But when we're talking to our clients, when we tell them metrics matter, what we mean by that is you've got to look at where are all of your deals coming from. So when we're building out our ad campaigns, we're building them out, and each campaign is a city or a subdivision. And they're itemized accordingly like that. So when we're telling our clients, and then we're tagging those, right? We're putting our UTM tags on there. So each lead is tagged appropriately with what keyword they came in at, what campaign they came through, whether that's a nationwide campaign, a local campaign. So we tell our clients, go back. You've got all the technology and all the means to track all this. Track and tell us, let's say you're spending $5,000 a month in marketing. You're getting, we might have only spent $4,200 last month or $4,000 last month because we didn't hit those 5,000. Not the end of the world, but when you look at the last year, 18 months trailing, where are all your deals coming from? Is there some markets we can pull back from and say, let's not be bullish and try to spend money in all these areas, hoping that we're going to, find a diamond in the rough. Let's go with what works. Go with your tried and true instead of going out and prospecting. Go out and do the work that where the gold is. And when we tell clients that, it's kind of an aha moment for them. There's a bunch of them that don't think that don't track their numbers well enough, and that's where you get in trouble. The people that are running real businesses that we're doing marketing for are going to be just fine. They're actually excited about this. As crazy as that sounds. I had one agent was just like, we're going to lose 30% of the registered real estate agents that are part-timers because work's going to get too tough. And then we're going to swoop in and be able to pick up more deals in the long run. I don't think he's wrong on that. But I think where we're having conversations with our agents, it's like, hey, you don't have to batten down the hatches. You have to, track your metrics that work, and then figure out where you should be spending your money and get smarter with it. You just can't be frivolous in your spending anymore, right?
Yep, I agree. Mark, what do you got?
Well, come at this from a couple different perspectives. On our lead gen in general, I haven't seen a huge decrease either in necessarily in search volume, maybe a little bit of drop. It's difficult to ascertain though whether that's just normal summertime after Memorial Day type of thing, because you see a lot of drops sometimes, especially after holidays and as people move into the vacation mindset and such until say end of August. Haven't seen a huge drop there. I thought we were seeing a drop in just general sales ourselves, onboarding new clients, but then that turned around and picked right back up and we're as busy as ever. The one thing that I have noticed is some of the larger agencies that are coming to us to backfill, whereas I think they would have hired in the past internally, they're coming to us to, they seem reluctant to bring on another full-time employee, and they're trying to backfill some of that work. So to me, that's probably, and it's beneficial to us actually. So it kind of goes to what Nick was saying. It's how you handle and play the recession that's inevitably going to occur. Hopefully this is more of a recession than a 2008, because there's not too many people that can just handle. It's hard to handle the floor dropping out from underneath you like the economy did then. But if this is just a recession, I think most of the home services businesses that are stable are going to be fine. A lot of niches are going to be fine. And you just, after 2020, I feel like we can go through anything after that. I hope. I should knock on wood as I say that.
Dustin, what about you? You want me to go, or
what's that?
Do you want to go last still? You want me to answer? Your turn.
I'll go. It doesn't matter. I'll make it easy. So it's interesting. I just did a YouTube video on this like yesterday or the day before. So there you go, Ed. I took another YouTube video, but
good.
So I was looking around. TripAdvisor, you guys all know, and the kind of tourism experience niche, they increased their SEM budget in Q1 of this year by 93% compared to the same time last year.
Wow.
And and I found that out by just being a nerd and digging around, but they spent an extra $62 million in SEM, mainly on traffic costs. I'm sure there's some agency costs or, there's some other hard costs in there, but okay, how much is left? Probably a lot for traffic. And they say it was due to an increase in demand, restrictions easing up from COVID, because you're comparing last year to this year. And of course, I'm, talking about the industry that I'm focused on for this particular conversation, but I'm seeing that, on one side, you've got the big boys who are spending more because demand is up in this particular case. But for the clients I'm working with in the niche, we're noticing some weird trends, like people who are in market are not booking as much as they were last year. Now it's more people that are like outside of the local area booking. So this is not really going to answer anybody's direct question, but I think what we're seeing is that there's money moving around, right? There's things that are shifting. So it's like kind of what Nick said, is just be aware of your metrics, see what might be different now, keep an open mind, like you don't really know what's going to happen, especially after the last couple of years we've had, like there's stuff that's happening that nobody would have ever believed. We saw UFO sightings all of a sudden, and we were talking about UFOs and you hear nothing about it almost at all, because we're too busy talking about other things. So I'll just say it like that. But knowing your metrics, I also think double down on what does work and work on conversion. So yes, there's leads and there's less people searching, but can you convert more of the people that you have left into a sale? Maybe that's nurturing them better. Maybe that's reaching out to past customers, or what, it depends on your business model, obviously. Maybe cross-selling them, upselling them, maybe finding some efficiency there would be great, because then even if you get less people, you're going to hopefully do as well or better. And then in the future, when that demand comes back, you'll be in a much better position. So I think looking at your costs and then looking at where you can improve conversion would be a big help in that time, during this time.
Yep. And to piggyback off of what Nick and Dustin said, know your numbers, know your metrics, find out what's actually working for you, find out what's actually leading to sales, not just generating leads, but generating actual sales on the back end. Start going through your money-making activities, your lead generating activities, see what's actually producing leads. Start to double and triple down on that. Cut the stuff that's not really effective. Let's say direct mail, as an example, is producing tons of leads. Double down, triple down on that. Whereas, say, social media posting isn't, or vice versa, or whatever the mix is. Start to identify what's actually producing. Double down on that. Go hard on that, and just get really intentional with your time. and allocate good portions of your day towards revenue generating activities. I know during the initial lockdown, Mark, you mentioned going through kind of that shitstorm. That's when we got really much more intentional on YouTube, and you can see our stats grow from there. And with direct mail and with cold calling and everything. So I think you have to kind of lean into shitty times, as weird as that sounds. When everything's falling apart around you, you have to go harder into it and kind of lean into the storm. That's been effective for us. And I find that those that market heavy through a recession or a downturn tend to make it out better on the back end than those that didn't and kind of retracted and shelled up.
I agree with you completely there. I think our clients who just do that exact same thing are going to make it, are going to do well, and some of them are going to do exceptionally well, because you're going to have those people, as Nick noted, that in the real estate, just like that in every other industry, the guys who aren't real, people who aren't real strong, companies that aren't real secure are going to drop off. It's going to be more business left for those that remain. And I do want to second what you said about really leaning into those. You know, you can get a little fat and lazy in good times. It's really a good exercise to go back in and look at your expenses, look at your activities, look at your processes, look at what you're paying people to do. Does this make sense? I mean, that needs to be reviewed every so often anyway, at a time when there's a potential for, revenue impact. Is an even better time.
Yep, I agree.
I think the tracking part of it's important to discuss too, because like most of the clients you guys are talking about, or most clients probably watching this, if you're doing e-commerce, it's pretty easy to tell where you can trim fat a lot of the time. It's not perfect, but it's easier because you're seeing the whole funnel basically in Google Ads or in analytics. In the tour operator niche, water sports, whatever, you can see that with online bookings too, but there's some attribution issues by the way some of these booking engines handle it. So like it looks like direct traffic a lot of times for some part of it. But for the lead side of it, I think it's really important to maybe take advantage of offline conversion tracking. So what does that mean in human language? It's basically you take a lead, when they become a sale, you feed that data back into Google Ads or analytics or both, and you're able to tell where you're making your money from. And it's a different setup for a lot of different people, but I mean, it can be done with Zapier, it can be done with Google Sheets, it can be done several different ways, a little bit of time. But what we found is like even by taking the time once a week to go back through, depending on your volume, of course, and just going through all your leads that were registered in a Google Sheet, adding the disposition. So were they a sale? Were they not a sale? Whatever. Adding the revenue amount or maybe the quote amount or whatever, and then feeding that data back into Google or Facebook or whatever. It's going to make it way easier to see where you're not just getting leads from, but actually wasting money. And I'll give you a quick example. So one of our clients, who's not a tour operator, we're spending a good amount of money for them. So in Q1, there was about an extra $20,000 in ad spend that converted into leads, but didn't convert into sales very well. We were able to just basically chop it off and reallocate to other places. So now we're spending less, but we're also making more on that money because we know where it's going, right? So that's just an example of how it could be powerful, how it could be used. And I think it's, if you're not already doing that, like you said, Mark, when you're fat and you're content, it's like, I don't feel like figuring that out. But when you're like, oh crap, where's my dollars? How am I going to pay for this? Then you're like, all right, let me spend a few hours and put a process together for a Google Sheet, upload it to Zapier and to Google. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do it. It just takes a little bit of dedication and commitment to make sure you update your numbers and feed it back in. I think that could also go a long way to help out.
Yep.
I think that's particularly relevant in this industry or in the agency industry, because a lot of people they're sort of stuck between I'm a consultant, I'm an agency, but you're a business either way. Mm-hmm. And you got to know your numbers. And that's an area that people could really strengthen, when they're asking themselves, oh, should I go into a niche? Should I do this, do that? Well, those types of decisions are part of understanding what your numbers are or what you want your numbers to be. So it's important. I mean, it's like basic business stuff that I don't think always gets addressed in the agency world, where we're either, talking about gurus on Facebook or we're, bragging about our latest numbers on Facebook.
Yeah.
In front of a rented Lamborghini.
I think that's business in general, like local business, small business in general. Anything above or below like 5 million in revenue. I mean, Nick, it's kind of what we talked about last week when we weren't recording. Like the coaching side of things where you're helping entrepreneurs out. Most people aren't running accounting software. We didn't run accounting software for years. And we weren't running QuickBooks or FreshBooks or whatever you're going to run. That was life-changing for us to see everything laid out to get a true cost of goods sold. Most people aren't doing that stuff. And
Yeah.
it's
which is wild to me, right?
Yeah. It's just flying by, it's the bank account business owner who just looks at top line. Okay, I can pay that. No, I can do this, I can do that. And it's until you get that in there and know your cost of goods sold and know what your, a true net profit looks like, you're kind of just flying by the seat of your pants. So I think implementing the basics, if that's stuff that you're not already doing, you can hire a really solid bookkeeper for a couple bucks an hour from the Philippines, or you can hire a US based one. We pay $250 a month for our bookkeeper. She's awesome. Really like her. We lean on her for a lot of important things. But just having your numbers down, I think would go a long way, especially in, trying times where you don't know exactly, there's a bit of uncertainty in the air. Knowing where you stand, knowing what your net profit is each month is a powerful thing. And I'm talking net profit after you actually pay yourself a salary. And you can know what you could reinvest in the business moving forward for marketing, for infrastructure, whatever it might be. So I'd throw that out on the table. Besides leaning into marketing, know your numbers, get your accounting in place, get your bookkeeping in place, and get really comfortable with what the numbers look like and why they look the way they look.
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think this is a great time too. If you're running an agency and you've got a bunch of clients, this might sound absolutely crazy. It's a great time to fire shitty clients, honestly. Because 2 months ago you're looking at, God, should I hire again? And now you're like, the unknown market. I can't really hire, but we're going to stress the rest of the team, the current team out by trying to manage all the clients that we have. And we've got new clients coming in every week still, but at the same time, we've got clients that are just absolutely a time suck and a drain. Just get rid of them, right? Instead of hiring, just shave off a little bit more, get more efficient, and you would be amazed at what it looks like. It's a scary thing when you fire somebody, which we had to do recently. It's a scary thing when you fire clients, but the morale of the team the next day or within the week, or their conversations they have, they're like, oh, it's like a weight lifted off their back. Like, oh, I don't have to deal with that anymore. Could be a huge thing. And people might be like, God, that's crazy. You would think to do that, but we're always looking at who's sucking up too much of our time. And should we let them know that we need to bill them, or we need to change the relationship? And if you're looking at the future and saying, hey, I can't afford to hire right now with the unknown, with the markets, it's not in the cards, then shave off some crappy clients and you can add 3 to the one that you got rid of, right?
Mark's law that I've recently implemented, or I'm observing, is that the noise level of the client is directly related to or inversely related to the value, to how good a client they are. So the noisier the client, I think 2 things are going to happen. One, less likely they're going to be around long-term. You're going to retain them, and more likely they are doing that thing to your entire team, which is sucking the life out of them.
Yep.
It's usually an inverse of how much they're paying you. It's usually they're paying you as little as possible.
I haven't worked all the factors into it. There's an equation there somewhere, but I think it'll come back to the same 80-20 rule that everything else comes back to. I just look at it now, pretty much noise is a signal. If they're noisy, I'm like, okay, well, that's telling me something right there. Pay attention to that.
Mark, you use a ticketing system, right?
We do not. We use a help desk system.
Okay. And then Nick, you use help desk and ticketing, right?
We use Help Scout as a ticket system. Yep.
Does that show percentages of clientele? Like what % of the client actually produces majority of the?
It actually does. You can do that. I think
we can do that. We don't typically. We can also see who's responding to tickets in a valid amount of time and who's letting their tickets slide. Yeah. I don't ever do that. We could. I just let a sleeping dog lie, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I can, off the top of my head, I know of like 3 customers that probably take 30% of the support time
Mhm.
of all of our clients.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yank 'em.
Yep.
You could be a hero, like throw your shield on, run out there in front of your entire team and just drive a spear through them.
on.
This is Sparta.
Yeah.
Kick him in the hole. Sorry, you're out.
So
It's-
going back to your number thing, one of the things I think is a great exercise is to put together a spreadsheet with projections. What you think and break it down into all kinds of, what my expenses are, my fixed expenses, my recurring, my income, different, whatever makes sense for your business, your agency, and then do your accounting and match up your actual to your projections. Is such a cool thing to see the fantasy you had as opposed to the reality that you had. And then the more you do that, the closer those things align. And all of a sudden your projections, I used to have to do that all the time as a corporate IT guy. You'd have your projections on your expenses and then you had your actual. And it was a really good exercise, especially it's great to do the actual and do the accounting side, but it's cool to do the projection because that's you thinking what your business should be doing, where it should be making revenue, where it should be spending, and that sort of thing. So that's a tool, that's something I recommend, especially for e-commerce businesses. I guess for every business, but I know I dealt with a ton of e-commerce businesses early, and there were like never any thought as to those sorts of things. It's just we sell this and we want to sell more of it. What are your margins? What's your cost per sale? What's your is that a lifetime? And I still have these conversations with people all the time. Is that a one-time or a lifetime? What's the lifetime value of a client? Are we looking at this new lead as we have to make money this time, or are we going to sell to them 10 times? Then that changes the way you view the client. So to me, those numbers are not only, well, they're not always fun. I was going to say they're fun. They're not always fun, but they can be fun to dive into.
They can be fun. Usually it's like 3 months in once you start seeing the data, because that first month is tough to get all that stuff organized. And
Yeah,
we implemented the tracking sheet from 7-Figure Agency, and that's eye-opening to track churn, projected growth, actual growth. I live and die in that sheet. That's probably my top 3 places I'm in daily. That sheet, my master client list, and then QuickBooks, or like a P&L. So I live in that thing, trying to move the needle on our overall retention rate, because I know that every % that goes up, the bottom line is tremendously impacted. So yeah, I agree with you. I like the projection stuff. A little too nerdy for me, so I have to have stuff like that built. But I like looking at the data and interpreting it. Do you guys, Dustin, Nick, do you guys use anything like that?
I have a tracker that I track our revenue. We use FreshBooks. I have an accountant that uses QuickBooks. We do that, but I also look at our expenses in a Google sheet that breaks out everything kind of per month, per year. We track, kind of team costs versus revenue, what percentage that is, along with all of our clients and the recurring amounts, which I update each month as I do invoicing. But I don't, the 7-Figure Agency tracker, I have not gotten to that one yet. And mainly because it's like another spreadsheet to manage. I definitely intend to do it, but it's just been a little tough to be consistent with that. But I think it'd be good. Also, I like your idea. When you were saying, I was thinking of like the loudest clients, like have some kind of like a noise level, like thing for clients would be pretty interesting. It's like, wow.
Be like a little needle.
Yeah, like that, exactly.
Once they hit that,
redlining,
okay.
we're redlining.
boom. Well, and then have that Dear John letter where it's you, it's not me. It's like, you're an awful client, and this is why we're done working with you. Honesty is the best policy. I always tell everybody when we start working with them, like, what you're going to get is honest responses from us. If we think the software you're using and the website you're using is trash, I'll be very open and honest about, this is trash. You probably won't like the results. We can run traffic to it. You could spend thousands of dollars banging your head against the wall, or you could use stuff that's going to work. You can only try to get them to move in the right direction so much until you're just like, you know what, whatever, do it. Or we've stopped working with a couple of clients because they refused to change their software. but then they want to go into their own forums and their own Facebook groups and talk about how we're not hitting the numbers we're supposed to be hitting. And that automatically gets back to us. Everything that happens gets back to just remember, if you're posting stuff on social media and you think it's in a private group, it gets back to the person you're talking about. And if you're okay with that, cool. But when the rubber hits the road, we've pulled clients from that and said, hey, we're not going to work with you. We understand that you have this delusions of grandeur of what you think we can and can't do. Again, the entire team appreciates you that much more when you get rid of a client that does that.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to mention, since we're talking about Google Ads and some of the expenses, I mean, a couple of the areas, like if you're running ads accounts or you're like a business or an agency, I mean, some areas you could look at would be obviously device bids. Like we're just going to get into the weeds for just a second. I look at your devices, look at maybe geos, depending on how big of a market you're running ads in, keyword themes. So it may not be an individual keyword, it might be a group of keywords or search terms that those keywords are showing for, and look for any that are not performing very well. These are all things that we'll typically look at. Sometimes depending on the market, age, demographic kind of information, household income. A lot of this depends on the type of ads you're running, how big of a campaign it is, how much traffic you get around it. But I mean, these are all pretty easy areas to take a look at where you can make some adjustments and hopefully find some ways to spend that you can reallocate or just save, whatever the opportunity is. I'm trying to think if there's anything else off the top of my head. I mean, obviously landing pages and things like that are important as well, but I'm just talking about inside of Google. If you're just looking at that aspect of it, I think those are good areas to start with. You'll probably find some themes that you didn't realize you were paying a little bit more of a premium for. So
yeah,
that'll help somebody.
Yep.
Very cool. Cool. Anything else, guys? Anything else you want to throw on towards the end here?
I can't think of anything else toward the end.
So key takeaways: know your numbers, know your metrics, and market heavier than you're currently doing. That's my big takeaway. Know your numbers and market more. Lean into it.
Yep.
Amen. That's what I got to.
Yep.
And don't make a lot of noise.
Yeah, and don't be a pain in the ass client. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very much for today. That's it for the recording. Have a great day.